that I've seen a lot of people, and especially women, do. We stay quiet. We let that fear stop us from getting that visibility that we need. And so, if I might say, when we're talking about this webinar, there was one thing that, I mean, you've seen Sue. She's always in different events, conference, speaking here, there. And this is why we all know her. This is why this community is thriving to a very big extent. And when she spoke to organizers in events, if I may say, Sue, on your behalf, she said, why are there not more women in the panel? And they said, we invite them, but they don't come. And I want to ask you, and at the same time, other men do come, even though they're not as experienced or they're not as capable as these women. And I've seen it in my own life and in my own career where other men that were able to go out there and speak about their projects, speak to the management, speak at podcasts, radio stations, conferences, they got the promotions, they got the pay rise, and they got to get the recognition that they wanted. Now, I want to ask you, in your life, has public speaking fear, that anxiety, held you back from getting that recognition, that visibility that you would have liked to have? And write in the chat, yes, if it has. No? Nobody? Yeah. Oh, my academic career. I can, it's yes, a lot of yeses. It is something that happens to a lot of us. But I want to ask you, would you like to raise your hand to a speaking engagement that can potentially change your life, or just any speaking engagement? It can be at work, it can be in your community, at your sport club, anywhere. Would you like to be able to raise your hand and speak? Raise your hand if you would. I want to see some hands. Let me just see the rest. Wow, I see all the hands up. Awesome, awesome. So I take this as a promise. It's a promise to yourself and a promise to me today that you're going to raise your hand next time a speaking opportunity comes. And we're going to make this happen today. So that I'm going to share with you tools and techniques that will help you feel more comfortable raising your hand. And when you do speak, to feel more confident with your voice. Now, the first tool that I would like to share with you is quite simple, really. And if I have any sports women in the room, I would like to ask you actually first, what is the number one thing that any sports person has to do in order to be able to become good or to feel less nervous? What do you think? What's the most important thing? Practice. I love it. Exactly. Practice and training. And that is exactly what we need to do with public speaking. There's no magic trick. There's no magic tool or technique that will actually give you that confidence and that ability to feel comfortable other than practice. And for me, I was amazed to see that even though I was super nervous in the past, when I started practicing, I realized that, yes, I think nervousness was always quite there, but the feeling that I got when I started to practice was incredible. And I was like, I actually enjoy being up on stage. I enjoyed getting that spotlight. And I think the moment that really hit me was when I spoke to a woman and she told me that, oh, a few months ago, I had heard this lady give a speech about perfectionism, and that speech changed my life. Like I said, I'm not going to let perfectionism affect me again. And I thought, that speech was mine. And in that moment, I realized that I had spent my entire life thinking that I suck at something, But that same thing had the ability to inspire someone's life. And all this was because I wasn't actually training. Every time something would go wrong, I would say, that's it, this is not going to happen again. And then the next day, I did nothing about it. And then everything changed once I started to practice. Now, when it comes to practice, for me, I mean, any practice is good, but there is two types of practice that are the most effective. The first is to practice with, of course, people. And I would recommend that you start with people in your life, people that you feel more comfortable, and recording yourself on video. And the reason for this is, first of all, when we practice with others, even if they are friends or family or our partner, we get those first nerves out. So what I saw is that when I was practicing at the very beginning, I would practice with my boyfriend, and it was a new relationship at the time. So I would start, and I was getting so nervous in front of him. And I remember him saying, like, "But Alice, what is wrong? Why are you like this?" And but the amazing thing was that when I went afterwards to present at my work, I was like, "This is a piece of cake. I present in front of him. I can do anything." And that always, like speaking in front of our friends, we underestimate how nerve-wracking it can be to speak in front of your friends or in front of your family or in front of your partner. So first, we get those first nerves out. And then the second and most important is to get feedback. Because what happens when we are nervous is that we tend to focus so much on the fact that we are nervous. And we forget that there are things that we are doing well. And I want to ask you now, like, when you think about the way that you speak, and I don't mean just presenting, I mean everyday speaking, do you know your strengths? For me, what I was surprised to hear when I first got feedback was, "Oh, you have so much energy when you speak, and you're so passionate about what you're saying, and you have this big smile." And I was like, I didn't realize that because I was focusing so much on the nervousness part. What about you? Tell me, I would like to see in the chat, when you think about speaking, is there something that you know that you have strength, or some people have told you? It might be that you have a calm voice, or that you have an energetic voice, or that you have a good sense of humor, or that you're able to analyze complex things. What have people told you? Write it in the chat, please. Passionate and clear, conviction, good pace, speaking with passion. Oh, especially for passionate. Oh, a lot of passion. I like it. Complex things seem simple. Energy, passion, sense of humor. So amazing. So many wonderful. Sound confident and friendly. Calmness. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. They like the sound of my voice, accent. Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much all for sharing this. Does it not feel good to know that we have strengths, and we need to highlight those strengths, and we need to remember them every time we speak? We need to remember them and work on them so that we make them even stronger. Now, of course, we know our strengths, but it's also very important to understand what are those areas where we need a little bit more work. And usually those areas are the areas that lead to anxiety as well. And I want to ask you, when it comes to public speaking, what is the biggest struggle that you face? Is it maybe your voice? Is it your body? Is it the way that you speak? Can you write it in the chat as well? So losing train of thought, being articulate enough, going off topic, distracted, speaking too fast, not articulating, blushing, talking too fast, filler words, breath control, feeling terrified, not articulating. So you see, we have specific things, like all those things that you're writing here, forgetting what I want to say, not quick thinking enough, all those things are getting in the way. And the reason why we get nervous is because that thing has created experiences where we might have not spoken in the way that we would have liked. Let's say we didn't articulate properly and people couldn't understand, and they would ask us to repeat, or they passed us over, and or we lost our train of thought and during a presentation, and then we felt really nervous. So it's these kind of things. When something you feel that it's a big struggle, usually it is also the thing that creates the anxiety. So thanks a lot for sharing. I want to see a few more. So adding energy, not quick thinking enough, forgetting what I want to say. Right. So you have one. What I would like you to do and is start working on that one thing. So over the next weeks, you find one and start working on this, the most important one. And then you will see that as you improve that, then everything will follow. But we need to know what is the one thing that will make the biggest difference before we move on to other things. Because what happens most of the times is that we want to say, oh, I want to articulate better, I want not to speak too fast, I want to have energy, I want to have my body language, and then we get overwhelmed, and most of the times we do nothing. So focusing on one and saying, I'm going to finish with this, and then I'm going to move on to the next one. And then work on the next one and the next one. And then you see that once you have done the first one, it's really, the rest becomes so much easier. Now, when it comes to practice, of course, you can practice when you have specific speeches, you can practice with your friends. There are public speaking places, clubs, and Toastmasters being probably the most popular and more widely available in the world, and the place where, for me, it also made the biggest difference. But really, any conversation, any speaking is actually an opportunity to practice. Our lives is a stage. Every day we speak. And if we feel that we use too many filler words, then we need to start being aware of how many filler words we use in our daily lives, because it's very hard if you use a lot of filler words in your daily life to not do that when you are presenting. But awareness is the first step. And now you have awareness because you know your strengths and you know the areas that you want to improve. Good. So practice, find the people, see who you want to practice with, see if you want to go to, as I said, a public speaking club, or there are improv clubs that as well can be really good, especially if we want to think more quickly on our feet. Now, we want, and I want to see if you agree, in order to feel to be at our best, we want to feel calm and relaxed. Do you agree with that? Yes. And one of the best ways, and one of the ways that our body has given us to naturally feel that calmness, is our breathing. And I want to ask you, have you heard the famous, like when you're stressed, people tell you, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. But it doesn't really work. And the reason why it doesn't work is because a lot of us don't breathe correctly, or don't breathe in a way that helps our bodies to feel calm. Most of us, because we are sitting and working in the office, like, we take short, shallow breaths from the chest. And that, what it does is that it creates that mini activation of the fight or flight, that famous anxiety setting of our bodies. And that's when you start feeling that's a sensation where you feel your heartbeat increasing, your breathing becomes very short and very, very fast, and your body tenses, your mouth clenches. And when we are in this mini fight or flight, when something actually stressful happens, like we have to speak in public, then the effects that we feel are so much faster. So what we want is and because breathing is something that we do naturally, it's not something that you can tell yourself, oh, breathe differently. It's something that we have to train our bodies to do. And we want to create it almost like to make it almost like a habit and to train it daily. The thing that has helped me a lot and is to focus a lot on belly breathing, breathing from the diaphragm. And I would like you to see a little bit how it works. I would like you to place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And I would like you to take a breath, to inhale from your nose with your belly expanding. And then exhale from the mouth for longer with your belly going in. Let's close our eyes. Let's do this. Let's do this together. So inhale for 4 counts, 2, 3, 4, and exhale from the mouth, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, belly expands, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And one last time on your own, inhale. And exhale. And you can open your eyes. If we do this, I hope it felt good. If we do this, if of course, if you have never done this before, what you it might not might be a little bit strange. You might not get the breathing. Some people say, or it might be also the longer exhalation can make them feel a bit dizzy. It needs practice. As I said, it's breathing is something that we do naturally. So trying to control it takes a bit of time. But the main focus should be on inhaling from the diaphragm so that we can take deeper, fuller breaths, and then focus on the exhalation, making it slow, controlled, and longer, because the exhalation is actually the powerful part that calms the body. It's not the inhalation. So use it. What I like to do is make it have mini breathing resets during the day. So in the morning, while I'm having my coffee, I'm taking a couple of deep breaths, or before I have an important meeting or a conversation, and at night. And this way, it becomes something that I do regularly, and then my body gets used to doing it on its own. It can be really powerful, and not just for public speaking, but also for our daily life as well. Good. Now, how we feel is also directly linked to how we sound and how we look. We said how our breathing can affect the way that we feel, but unfortunately, we cannot really tell our bodies feel confident, feel strong. However, we are able to use our breathing to feel more, we are able to use our voice and our body to help us feel more confident and to help us feel more strong. And I saw when we shared before the things that we struggle with, I know that a big thing is the voice. A lot of women say, "Oh, I feel that my voice is too soft. People cannot hear me. People ask me to repeat what I said." And when that happens, it's very difficult to feel confident. So we want our voice to be strong, similar to how we want our bodies to be strong. And there are some exercises that we can do to strengthen our voice. We are not, doesn't mean that because we have a certain voice, we are left with it. Now, the first thing is to start, before we start anything, is to do a little bit of a warm-up. It's a little bit like going to the gym. You don't start exercise before warming up your body. And the same thing when it comes to public speaking. So I have created a handout that you will see some very simple exercises to warm up your mouth muscles and your vocal cords. And some of them are also great for helping with articulation, especially if anyone feels that they don't articulate well, and they're super fun. I mean, if I know we did when we were younger, tongue twisters, and They are so good for helping with articulation. Now, one of the exercises that for me it made the biggest difference, and generally it's one of those exercises that can make a big difference in our voice, is called humming. And again, breathing from the diaphragm is, as we said before, it's very important because it doesn't just help us calm down, but it also gives us more breath control. We are able to speak longer without losing our breath. And this is very important so that we also don't strain our vocal cords. So what we want is, for the humming, we want to take a deep breath from the belly and then do the sound hum, and then feel the vibration from the chest all the way up to our mouth and up to our forehead. Since you're all on mute, I would like to ask you to do it because nobody can hear you. So let's see if you can do it. So take a deep, we can relax the shoulders, and you can place one hand on your chest so that you can feel the vibration, and just do hum, and see if you can feel the vibration on your chest. Don't be shy. Nobody can hear you. It's okay. It's For those of you that did it, would you like to tell me if you felt the vibration? Yes, I see some heads nodding. Good. Perfect. Excellent. So this is a great exercise to have a more fuller voice, to have a richer voice. It's this kind of voices where we feel like it goes all the way up from your belly to up to your face. And we love to hear those voices, but the amazing thing is that we feel good when we hear our voice. And that is the most important thing. That effect that it has on our psychology when we feel that we are strong. Now, if you want to make it more fun, what I would recommend to you is to do it through singing. And especially my favorite one is Frank Sinatra, because it's also like, it has that little bit deeper that sometimes we want, and it's perfect to use for humming, or if you want, singing in general. Again, everything that I say today needs to be practiced. If you just do it one time, whether it's the breathing, whether it's the humming exercise, it won't really work. But with regular practice, I promise that the results can be incredible. And when it comes to the voice, apart from humming, there is also one thing that is very important, and that is to pause. Because when we don't pause, a lot of the times, this is when we tend to lose our train of thought, we ramble, we use a lot of filler words, and we generally, or we might speak too fast and people are not able to follow what we're saying. So getting used to using pauses is one of the things that makes the biggest difference in the way that we speak. Now, there are some speakers that are naturally speaking more fast. And that is okay. That, I mean, doesn't mean that if you speak too fast, that you need to lower down a lot your pace, because we don't want to bore people off. But it is very important to pause, because if we speak too fast and then we don't take any pauses, people don't know where to focus. And it's very also hard to follow what we're saying. So learning to use pauses is something that can be absolutely powerful for the way that we speak. And I wanted to show you a little bit an exercise that can help for how to learn how to use pauses, and also how big of a difference it can make for people that have softer voices. So if somebody has told you that they cannot hear you in meetings or in presentations, then this is even better for you. Now, I would like a volunteer for this one. And I would like somebody who maybe has a soft voice. And if you don't want it to be in the recording, we can pause the recording for a little bit. Raise your hand if you would like to volunteer. No volunteers? I don't want to pick someone from I don't think it's correct. Can I pick someone? No. Sue, maybe.
Lucy said she'll volunteer. Lucy Goodman has said in the
perfect.
chat.
Oh,
Or
perfect.
Maggie. They're both
Oh,
volunteering.
yes. Thank you. So awesome. So, yeah, Lucy, since you came first.
Hello. I wouldn't say I have a soft voice. That is one thing I will admit to. But if no one else wants to volunteer, I'm happy to.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So I will share with you a text and I would like you to just read it and I will give you instructions as we move along. All right. So give me a second to share. All right. Can you see the text?
Mm-hmm.
Just read it. No, just read as you would normally would.
Being perfect is not about that scoreboard out there. It's not about winning. It's about you and your relationship with yourself, your family, and your friends. Being perfect is about being able to look at your friends in the eye and know that you didn't let them down.
Thank you very much. And now, okay. I would like you to exaggerate, speak even louder. You already have a loud voice, but speak even louder and put emphasis on the words that are highlighted and the pauses in the brackets.
Being perfect is not about that scoreboard out there. It's not about winning. It's about you and your relationship with yourself, your family, and your friends. Being perfect is about being able to look your friends in the eye and know that you didn't let them down.
Perfect, thank you. All right, in round 3, normal, just use the pauses.
Oh, sorry, I got the hand suddenly came up. Being perfect is not about that scoreboard out there. It's not about winning. It's about you and your relationship with yourself, your family, and your friends. Being perfect is about being able to look your friends in the eye and know that you didn't let them down.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
How was that? How was it? How did it feel?
Yeah, it was interesting actually. I had to really think about how I was like enunciating things when I had to put the emphasis on words. But actually, it's a really good sort of note for myself to actually slow down. I do sometimes tend to speak quite quickly. And yeah, hearing the 3 different variations is I think it's quite interesting.
I mean, you did, even from the first one, you still emphasize things, you still use a little bit of pauses, but adding those pauses and that emphasis in the last one was like, wow. So well done, well done. Thank you so much for volunteering.
No problem.
Well, this is the power of pauses, and it makes such a big difference when we speak. And we can do, of course, it's something that, again, like we want to be able to start practicing it in our daily lives, because when it comes to the moments that matter, what happens, especially if we're nervous, then we start speaking really fast and then we don't feel, and then it's more difficult to control that. But practicing it and using, if, for example, you have a speech or a presentation, taking the text and doing this, putting in where those pauses should be, which words do you want to highlight, and practicing like that can make such a big difference. And what I would recommend to you is, even if you don't have a speech, you can just take a book and do that with the text in the book. And the more you do it, the more you'll see that it becomes more and more natural. And the best thing with this is that it's not just great for when people hear us, it also gives that moment that we need to breath, to regroup, especially if we have lost our train of thought, and to keep on going. And a lot of the times it can save us from saying things that we don't want, from rambling or for oversharing, etc. So absolutely powerful. And thank you so much, Lucy, again for taking the challenge. Good. Okay, so we saw about how to strengthen our voice, and we saw how we can actually do it. It's super simple and things that we can do on a daily basis, and it doesn't take any time. You will see that the exercises are in total 10 minutes, including exercises for our voice and exercises for our body. Now we are ready to move on to the way that we look, because that also plays a part in the way that we feel. And we know very well that when we are sitting hunched and with our arms crossed, we don't feel confident. We don't feel confident, and we don't look confident. We look like we're trying to hide, like we're trying to be, like we're not sure about what we want to say. And what we want is expansive language. It's about expansive body language, is to open our chest. Because when we get nervous, the first part of our body that is affected is here, our chest. It goes tense, we hunch, and then we have that tightness here on our shoulder. So what we want is to do exercises, warm up the same way that we will warm up before exercise, to do a little warm-up routine to release that tension and open up the chest. And again, I'm sharing with you some of them in the handout. Now, one of the exercises that I love when it comes to releasing tension is to press the palms together for a couple of seconds and then release. And I do that 3 to 4 times. Just press, release, breathe, exhale, and then repeat that 3 to 4 times. And that is such a great way to release that nervous energy, because sometimes when we have to speak, we don't have time to do warm-up exercises or do those routines that need space, that need us to be on our own. And this exercise, what I love is that you can do it anywhere. Like you're in a meeting, you can do it under the table, nobody's going to notice, but the effects are really amazing. And then our bodies also, the exercise that I shared with you before that Lucy did, it's also great because when you try to increase your voice, what automatically happens is that you need to take more air and your body has to open as well. And especially if you do that while standing, you will see that your arms will stop moving, because as you try to speak louder, your body will also try to follow. And the best thing is that when you do pauses, your body needs to pause as well. So you see all the benefits of linking, like when you use your voice, how it also affects your body, apart from like how we feel, as we said before. Now, when it comes to warm-up and expansion, what I like to do is to bring everything together in a little dance routine before I have any speaking engagement. And actually before anything, it's like my way of relaxing, my way of getting those endorphins running. So I have a playlist that I listen to warm up, and playlist that I listen to release energy. And what I would highly recommend is that to create that playlist for you, because each one of us has different tastes. And sometimes we want different songs for different occasions. But having a specific playlist that you use during your practice, what we'll do is that it will anchor that feeling, apart from the fact that it will help you to relax and get those endorphins and happy hormones running, it will also anchor that feeling every time you hear the song. So for me now, I listen to the songs and I don't need to dance. I mean, if I can, I will. But just by listening is enough to bring in the same sensations. So create your playlist, have maybe 3 to 5 songs, some more upbeat, some that you can have more expansion, and some that can be for maybe calming down. It can be so powerful, and yeah, a great way to start any kind of warm up or any kind of preparation for whether it is speaking or anything else. Good. Any questions so far, like before I move on? No, we will have time for questions as well later on. Now, of course, hype tone of choice is Wannabe from Spice Girls. It's my generation. And a lot of Beyonce as well.
I was just going to say, Alice, there's a question there in the chat around what to do with hands, and I'm really interested in that too. Is like, would you recommend people use their hands in talking, or that's from Valentina?
Absolutely. I think hands, and it has been proven that some of the most powerful TED Talks are using their hands a lot. And the only thing that sometimes happens, for example, I'm Greek and we like to use our hands a lot, and I know Italians are a little bit the same as well. So what you want is to use them with more purpose. And that's why I said that when we practice using poses, our body has to also pause. You cannot be stopping and not talking and your body continues. So that comes while we practice poses. But I think it's a little bit kind of like more afterwards. Once you start practicing, you see as well your body language, and people will tell you you move your hands too much, and then you become aware of it and you start working on it. Everything is about awareness. Everything is about understanding first what we do so that then we can work on it. Now, we said that our voice affects how we feel, our body, how we look affects how we feel, but something else also affects how we feel. And that is, sorry, because they decided to do some construction. Can you hear me? Perfect. All right. So how we think also plays a big part on how we feel. And a lot of the times when we are nervous, we tend to ruminate and think all the things that went wrong, all the times that we messed up, how we catastrophize, we see the worst case scenario. And for me, while I will not tell you that, have positive thoughts and I don't agree with fake positivity. But one of the things that makes the biggest difference is to break that pattern of negative self-talk. This is the most important, because once we manage to break the pattern and say, listen, I've done all the practice that I could do, I've done everything within my power to be there, and then we do the breathing, we have done our warm-up, that's it. That's all you can do. And then what I like to also find is that the best way to start breaking that pattern is by having positive experiences as well. And the only way to get positive experiences or more experiences is to practice more, is to get out there and talk more. Now, the best place for me to do that, and I think for all of you, since you all work in sports or want to work in sports, is to find places where you get that opportunity to share your stories. We all know about the power of vulnerability. When we go out there and share our stories, this is where the magic happens. Because when you become vulnerable, first of all, you feel like it's like, oh, I said it. That's it. That's so good. And then people lean in and they want to listen, because a lot of the people are going through the same thing. And when you share your story, when you share your struggles, and when you're willing to be vulnerable,
that's people, that's where people connect. And that's where you will see that you will have people come in and tell you, you know, your words helped me. And when somebody, and all we need to do is remember that every time we speak, every time we share, every time we talk about our message, our stories, our ideas, we help someone else. It's not about us. It's about the people in the room, the people that are listening. And that is enough to say, you know what, it doesn't matter if I'm nervous. It's worth it. It's worth it because even if I help one person out of this room, it's okay. So I like, there is one phrase that I love, which is acronym, the HOPE, help one person every time. And I want you to remember it, that every time you speak, you help someone. And share your stories, go out there, speak, practice. The world is your stage. Remember the tools. You will get the handout so you can see and you can practice it on your own. And because I believe that action is the most important thing to do anything, I would like to ask you to take one last action for me. I would like you to write one speaking opportunity that you would like to have before the end of the year. So in the next 3 months, it's going to be Christmas. Where would you like to be able to speak? It can be at work, it can be at an event, it can be at a community. Where is it? Write it in the chat, or write it actually in a piece of paper, first of all, because it's for you. It's your commitment to yourself for doing something after this webinar. And if you want, you can also share it in the chat as well. Ah, amazing. That's awesome. Awesome, Claire. Dress this week in November. Wonderful, wonderful. Girls, this is wonderful. And oh my God, so amazing. Now you have written it. Now you have, I would like you to raise your hand again. For yourself and for me, this is now, it's happening. Now you have put it in paper, and that's the most important thing. You have also, some of you have put it in the chat as well. It's happening. So get ready, because you never know what can happen afterwards, after this talk. Thank you so much for being here. And I think we have time for questions as well.
Lovely. There's a question. Dee put her hand up. So Dee, do you want to ask your question? And there's one in the chat as well too, but I'll let Dee go first.
I am so sorry. I don't know how I did that. I didn't mean to do that. I put my hand down.
I love that. You put your hand up, but because you were putting your hand on the tree. Okay. And that great. So, but lovely to see you, Dee. A quick question in the chat, and I'm going to use this question because that's actually a question I had too. I listened back to myself on a podcast just this morning, and I know when I'm talking, and this person said the same, I almost don't finish my sentences. I'm talking on a sentence, and mine is because my head's gone on to the next thing, or I think they might be bored if I give them all the detail of, so I kind of jump. And this person, sorry, I can't think who just said it, and we got some lovely comments underneath, said the same thing. Any tips for not actually finishing the sentence?
For not finishing a sentence. Okay. I like to use, generally this happens, I mean, it's quite common, but what I do is I like to use frameworks for when it comes to impromptu speaking and when it comes to getting my thoughts in order. And one of the best things to do is, for example, depending on the question, say, okay, you focus on, let's say there's the model called PrEP, and you say, this is my point, then this is the reason why I believe that this is important. And this is an example. And again, you state the point. And when you try to frame it in a specific format, then you force almost yourself to speak in a more structured way. But if it's something that you have identified that happens very often, what I would highly recommend is that it's the first thing that you start practicing. For example, this impromptu speaking prompt, like these frameworks are great practice for that, where you just take a question and you say, okay, let's practice this. So for example, in the question that you did, it's like if I use this model is the point is if you find that you're not finishing your discussions or if you're losing your train of thought, the best thing to do is to use frameworks. The reason why these frameworks are great is because they give you that structure that you need and you don't lose your train of thought. An example is that for me, frameworks have been incredible because my brain is like, it used to be like a bold spaghetti thing where trying to untangle the spaghetti was impossible. So having that structure helped me to put everything in order. I highly recommend you use frameworks.
Lovely. Thank you. And I actually think for me, the breathing and the taking
Yes.
breath and not will help me
Yeah.
massively too. I've got a couple other questions here. I'm going to whiz through them because they're great. Actually, one of the
I
questions
just
is,
say as well, I just want to thank all the women that have put in what they're going to speak to, because this is incredible. There's so many things here that are
we've
amazing.
got people already offering to help someone who's practicing for
Yes.
interview tomorrow. It's lovely, lovely to see. Monica asked, do you feel people should read their speeches or should they try to memorize it? What would your recommendation be there?
Highly recommend to learn it. And it's not memorizing. It is really practicing it enough so that you don't have to use notes. Because one of the things that I always say is that what happens if you lose the notes? What happens if the presentation breaks and you don't have slides to present? What do you do? So we need to know, and that is the first thing that can really stress you out if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have something to look at. So learning it as much as you can. And what I find is good is to have in your mind a natural structure as to what you say. Now, sometimes we present things that we have not prepared. So in those cases, what I recommend is learn the beginning, learn the key points, like each part, like, okay, what is the next stage or what are the key things that you should be able to mention, and then learn the end. And then the rest you see, if you're not able to have it, let's say if you miss your presentation.
Lovely, thank you. That's really useful. There's a question here. I think it could be O'Malley. It could be that's your name on screen. I'm not sure. But any tips for when you're on a panel? This is a great question. And the best way, it's a bit like us asking you questions now, Alice. The best way to just take a moment to digest that question and construct your answer coherently. I love questions from the floor when I'm on a panel, but I know for some people it makes them really nervous because you don't know what you're going to get. So is there any tips for how to deal with that when you're on a panel and you're getting random questions?
I mean, normally we don't get completely random. Like if you're in a panel, most of the times the questions are related to the topic that you're working with or a specific project. It's not, or the industry that you work with it's not completely random. But again, taking a moment to breathe, it's very important, and to structure the thoughts in your head. I got a question, what is the framework? It's for impromptu speaking, basically that kind of speaking where we're not prepared, where it's like now, for example, these kind of questions, I'm not prepared for them. And it's called impromptu speaking. So if you put it on Google, you will see a lot of impromptu frameworks. And there are a few that are very popular. This PrEP model is quite popular. And you have the rule of three that is also very popular and that I like to use a lot. It's just basically ways to structure your thoughts so that you say, this is how I'm going to say it, so I don't go off track. And then for the questions on the panel, again, like maybe doing some practice before, if you feel that this is something that makes you nervous, practicing these kind of questions and practicing responding on the spot on things that are random can help a lot.
I love that we've got women in the chat that are going to Toastmasters events together in Preston. That's amazing. I am also conscious there's one more question about how can you not overrun, which I'm not going to answer because we're not going to overrun, because we do like to make sure we finish on time for people, and it is 1:01, and I recognise people come on their lunch break. But we do have some fabulous notes from Alice, which is very kindly put together
Oh,
with some
yes,
tips.
sorry, I will share the notes as
Oh,
well.
that's lovely. Okay, and we can share
Without-
them afterwards as well too. So there's a QR code here, I think, where you can download the notes. But we will send all this out to everybody that was here. And a massive, massive thank you to you, Alice. I'm sure there's kind of lots to absorb there. I know there's certainly tips that I will be
Yes.
using.
I have put in the notes as well because it was quite a lot for 1 hour, and also the warm up, all the exercises. I highly recommend that you do them regularly. It's less than 10 minutes, so yeah, they can help a lot.
Lovely, thank you. And we've got more great tips coming through from people here too. But hopefully that's kind of created a bit more knowledge and information to share. And we look forward to seeing people at future events. So do scan. I'll leave that on there for a moment longer for people to scan those notes. But we will email out to everybody as well too. Alice, thank you so much.
Thank you
We're all
so
going
much.
off to breathe and hum and pause and
And
all those
pause.
practical tips. That's really, really useful. And thank you to everyone. Hopefully see some of you in person or at events again soon. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Have a nice
Alice.
day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Alice, hang on for a moment and we'll wrap up with you afterwards. Let me just stop the recording.